Let's be honest, success doesn't wait for anyone. It's not handed out. It's earned by those who are willing to outwork, outlast, and outlearn everyone else in the room. And if you're serious about winning, then there's one thing you need to understand clearly. Excuses will never lead you to success. Everyone has a story. Everyone has challenges. But the people who win, they choose to find a way forward. No matter what, you see, life will never be perfect. The timing will never be ideal, and conditions will never be just right. But that's not a reason to quit. It's a reason to rise. Because winners don't let excuses define them. They let their discipline do the talking. They don't wait for motivation. They build momentum through action. Don't be the person who says, I could have. Be the person who says, I did. When you decide that excuses aren't welcome in your life, that's when things begin to shift. That's when real progress starts. Every day you show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you are proving that success belongs to those who keep showing up. Not the loudest, not the strongest, but the most consistent. So ask yourself, are you making moves or making excuses? Because at the end of the day, your actions will always speak louder than your reasons. Winning is a mindset. Excellence is a habit, and your future is built on the choices you make today. Make them count. Success is not a gentle journey. It's not a quiet walk through the park. It's a battlefield. Every day you wake up, you're entering a mental and emotional war where the enemy is not just the world around you. It's the weaker version of yourself. That voice in your head telling you to sleep in, to take it easy, to try tomorrow, that's your enemy. And that enemy doesn't fight fair. It will use your emotions against you. It will remind you of your past failures. It will flood you with doubts when you're just about to move forward. But here's the truth. Most people never want to hear success has no sympathy. It doesn't slow down because you're tired. It doesn't pause because you've been through a rough time. It doesn't bend for your trauma, your circumstances, or your background. That's not cold, it's reality. The system is brutal, but it's honest. It rewards the people who are willing to face the fire without flinching. Success is not something you stumble into. It's something you fight tooth and nail for. It's earned in the early mornings when no one is watching. It's earned when you stay in the game after others quit. It's built brick by brick through focus, self-control, and relentless execution. The people who win aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who decided they weren't going to lose. They see life as war, and they act accordingly. They don't waste time complaining. They don't wait to feel ready. They armor up every morning and go to war with their laziness, their fear, their excuses. And they do it again tomorrow. You want success? Treat it like war. Train for it. Prepare for it. Fight for it. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to hand it to you just because you want it badly. Wanting is not enough. You need to out-discipline, out-suffer, and outwork everyone else chasing the same goal. You need to develop the mindset that says, no matter how I feel, I move forward. Because the world doesn't care if you're tired, heartbroken, stressed, or overwhelmed. It only cares if you get it done. That's the currency success deals in. Results, not reasons. So if you're still waiting for life to feel fair or balanced, stop. If you're still looking for the right time, stop. This is it. This is your war. And if you want to win, then understand that feelings are temporary, but legacy is forever. Victory doesn't come to the most emotional. It comes to the most disciplined. Let your actions speak. Let your results talk. Because when it's all said and done, it won't be your feelings that write your story. It'll be your work. And that's what separates the winners from the rest. Motivation is that spark. It's that loud voice in your head when you watch a video or read a quote that makes you feel like you can take on the world. It's a wave of energy, a temporary high. But here's the problem: motivation fades. It always does. It disappears when things get hard, when the weather's bad, when you're tired, when no one's watching. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes on its own terms. If your entire life strategy is built around waiting to feel motivated, then you're already losing. Because life doesn't care how inspired you feel. It responds to what you do, regardless of how you feel. That's where discipline takes over. Discipline is what remains when motivation dies. It's the voice that says, I'm doing this whether I feel like it or not. It's showing up on the days when everything in you wants to quit. It's choosing to do what needs to be done, even when your mind is screaming for comfort. Discipline doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't need an emotional pep talk. It simply acts. Every time you choose discipline, you're strengthening a part of yourself that is built to win. You're rewiring your identity. You stop being someone who trays and become someone who executes. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. Because discipline is not an act. It's who you become. It's a character trait, a standard, a habit that shapes your future, one consistent decision at a time. Most people don't fail because of a lack of talent. They fail because they never develop the muscle of discipline. They rely on motivation to get started and then fall apart the moment that fire burns out. The winners, they understand motivation is just a spark. Discipline is the engine. It's the thing that drives them through pain, boredom, fatigue, and frustration. They've trained themselves to stop negotiating with excuses. They've turned self-control into a weapon. They've built rituals and systems that don't rely on emotion. It's not about how they feel today. It's about the standard they've committed to living by. If you're serious about winning, you need to stop chasing feelings and start building systems. Build a system where your goals are non-negotiable. Build a system where quitting is not even on the table. Build a system where you don't need to be in the mood. You just move. And with every day you do that, you become more than the average person. You evolve. You start to think differently, act differently, live differently. You walk into rooms with a different energy because, deep down, you do what others won't. Not because you were motivated, but because you're disciplined. And that discipline becomes your edge, your armor, your advantage. Motivation is loud and flashy. Discipline is silent and deadly. It doesn't post quotes. It doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't care if anyone sees. But it always delivers. Always. And the best part, discipline is contagious. When you become that person, the one who follows through, the one who outlasts, the one who doesn't flinch, you inspire others without even trying. You become a force. Not just someone who talks about success, but someone who lives it. Because at the end of the day, your future won't be built by how many times you felt motivated. It will be built by how many times you refuse to let excuses win. That's discipline. And that's the difference between average and unstoppable. There are only two outcomes for anyone serious about success: you win, or you keep improving until you do. That's it. There is no third option. Losing is not the end. It's not a label, it's not your identity. And it's definitely not an excuse to give up. It's a lesson. It's a signal. It's a mirror reflecting back the gaps in your strategy, your mindset, your effort. Every time you fall short, the world isn't telling you to stop. It's giving you the data you need to evolve. But most people don't want to hear that. They want comfort. They want sympathy. They want to cry about how it's not fair, how hard life is, how someone else had it easier. And that's exactly why they stay stuck. Because while they're making excuses, someone else is making adjustments. Understand this clearly: losing is not your enemy. It's your trainer. It reveals your weakness so you can destroy it. It teaches you what not to do so you can figure out what works. But that only happens if you refuse to quit, if you stay in the game. The moment you quit, that's when you've lost permanently. Quitting is final. Quitting is handing over your future to fear, laziness, and self-doubt. Quitting is saying, I wasn't built for this, and walking away before you even gave yourself the chance to become who you could be. People fear failure because they think it's shameful. But the truth is, there's nothing shameful about failing while chasing greatness. What's shameful is settling. What's shameful is giving up on your potential just because the path got hard. That's weak. That's cowardly. And it's not an option if you actually want to win. Winning isn't supposed to be easy. If it was, everyone would be rich, fit, powerful, respected. But most people aren't, because they choose the illusion of comfort over the discomfort of growth. And here's the kicker: you don't even have to be extraordinary to win. You just have to be relentless. You have to be the person who refuses to stay down. You get punched in the face by life. Good, now get up stronger. You fail 100 times. Perfect. Learn 100 lessons. Build 100 new strategies. Sharpen yourself until you become a weapon. And then strike again. You're not born a winner. You're forged into one. That happens through pressure, through pain, through effort that breaks most people. But you're not most people. Not if you choose to fight through it. Every failure is shaping you. Every delay is toughening your mindset. Every setback is sharpening your hunger. As long as you're still moving forward, you haven't lost. You're just learning. And one day, all those days you didn't quit, they'll stack up into a win so massive, people will call you lucky. But you'll know the truth. You didn't quit, you rebuilt. You improved. You refused to surrender when everyone else would have tapped out. So next time you lose, good. Let it burn. Let it hurt. But don't you dare stay there. Take the hit, stand up, and become better. Because if you keep going, if you stay sharp, stay consistent, stay disciplined, then losing isn't your ending. It's just your training ground. And one day, all that pain you took without quitting, that'll be your crown. The most dangerous place you can ever settle in is your comfort zone. It feels nice. It feels safe. It whispers to you that you've done enough, that it's okay to rest, that growth is optional and pressure is unfair. But that voice is a liar. The comfort zone is where potential goes to die. It's where people slowly lose their ambition and replace it with routine. It's where greatness gets traded for mediocrity. And the worst part, you don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. You think you're maintaining your position, but in reality, you're rotting slowly, day by day. Because if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. Your comfort zone doesn't challenge you. It doesn't force you to become stronger, faster, or smarter. It tells you that pain is something to avoid. But in truth, pain is the price you pay for growth. Stress, pressure, risk, these are the catalysts that break weakness out of your system. If you don't confront discomfort willingly, life will eventually force it on you, and when that moment comes, you'll be too soft to survive it. You'll crumble because you never built yourself through adversity. That's why stepping out of your comfort zone isn't optional. It's a necessity. The people who dominate in life, business, health, and mindset aren't the ones who seek comfort. They're the ones who voluntarily walk into discomfort every single day. They put themselves in situations that test their willpower. They deliberately pursue hard things, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand that transformation doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when things are brutal. You don't grow when everything goes according to plan. You grow when the plan breaks and you refuse to fold. You grow when you're dead tired and still push. You grow when your mind screams, stop, and you tell it, not yet. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you weaken your mindset. You teach your brain that escaping the hard thing is acceptable. That becomes your default reaction: avoid, procrastinate, quit. That habit of running from discomfort infects every area of your life. It kills your confidence. It dulls your edge. Eventually, you wake up one day asking yourself how you became so average. And the answer is simple: you got comfortable. Discomfort is the training ground for power. If you want mental toughness, walk into the fire, not away from it. Get up earlier. Train harder. Work longer. Stop looking for the shortcut and start embracing the grind. Every time you force yourself to do what's uncomfortable, when you take cold showers, when you face rejection, when you confront your fears, you're telling your mind, I'm in charge. That's how real power is built. Not through motivation, but through conscious suffering, controlled suffering, strategic suffering. The kind that forges you into someone unstoppable. You need to become addicted to discomfort. You need to crave the moments when you feel stretched, pressured, exposed. Because those are the moments that build character. That's when you separate from the crowd. That's when the weak break and the strong are born. You either use your comfort zone as a cage or you break out of it and become something unrecognizable. So ask yourself this: are you comfortable or are you growing? Because you can't be both. Excuses are nothing but lies. And the worst part is that you're not telling them to other people. You're telling them to yourself. You craft these false stories to protect your ego from the reality that you're underperforming. You convince yourself that you're tired, that you're too busy, that you're not ready, that the timing isn't right. You package weakness in the wrapping paper of justification and then wonder why your life hasn't changed. The truth is brutal, but it's also liberating. You're not failing because life is unfair. You're failing because you're allowing your mind to run the show like a coward. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "it's not the right time," or "I tried my best," you're negotiating with the part of you that wants to stay average. You're entering a conversation with your inner weakness and letting it win. You think you're being rational when in fact you're just being soft. Winners don't make deals with their weakness. They don't pause to consider how they feel. They act. They execute. They do what needs to be done regardless of mood, motivation, or comfort. Because they understand one simple fact: the gap between average and elite is filled with people who stopped accepting their own lies. People who make excuses think they're being smart. They tell themselves that protecting their energy or their peace is self-care. No, it's self-sabotage in disguise. True self-care is doing what's necessary, not what's easy. The gym when you're sore, the study when you're tired, the work when you're uninspired. That's the kind of behavior that shapes you into a beast. Not the comfort rituals. Not the lazy self-compassion trends. Not the fake self-love that says, rest today, grind tomorrow. Because tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes never. And here's the thing. When you're lying to yourself, deep down, you feel it in your gut. That little twinge of guilt, that tension in your chest, that voice you try to silence with distractions. That's your conscience telling you the truth. You had time. You just scrolled. You had energy. You just wasted it. You had opportunity. You just didn't take it seriously. And until you stop negotiating with your weakness, your life will be ruled by mediocrity. You need to develop disgust for your own excuses. You need to hate them. You need to kill them the moment they show up. Because every time you believe your own BS, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who doesn't finish, doesn't follow through, and doesn't rise above. But every time you reject that voice and do the hard thing anyway, you strengthen the identity of someone powerful, someone who wins. Discipline isn't about doing what you love. It's about doing what you hate like you love it. It's about shutting down the noise in your head that's trying to sell you comfort. It's about becoming a machine when everyone else is looking for motivation. Stop giving airtime to weakness. Silence it with action. Kill it with consistency. And remind yourself daily your excuses aren't valid. They never were. They're just dressed up lies wearing the mask of logic. The minute you stop tolerating your own BS is the minute your life changes. No more deals. No more justifications. From this moment forward, it's simple. No excuses, just execution. Comfort is the most seductive trap in the world. It whispers in your ear that you've done enough, that you deserve to relax, that you've earned your spot. But comfort lies. It convinces you that stillness is peace, when in reality it's stagnation. People who chase comfort rarely accomplish anything significant. They confuse temporary ease with long-term fulfillment. They think success will come to them without pain, without hardship, without going to war against their own limitations. The harsh truth: comfort is the enemy. Every time you choose what's easy, you step further away from what's extraordinary. The people at the top, the winners, the legends, the outliers, they don't live in comfort. They live in discomfort. They seek out pain. They embrace suffering, not because they're masochists, but because they understand that pressure creates diamonds and struggle creates greatness. They choose the hard path because they know it's the only path worth taking. While others sleep, they grind. While others complain, they build. While others rest in their excuses, they rise in their discipline. That's why they win, not because they're lucky, not because they're privileged, but because they learned early on that if you're comfortable, you're probably not growing. You need to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. You need to learn to run toward resistance, not away from it. That cold morning when you want to stay in bed, that's where champions are made. That workout you want to skip, that's the rep that separates you from average. That hour of study, that late night of hustle, that lonely grind when no one is clapping, those are the moments that build monsters. Winners are forged in silence, in solitude, in discomfort. They aren't addicted to praise, they're addicted to progress. And progress is only born in pressure. Comfort wants to keep you small. It wants you average. It wants you weak. It gives you 1,000 reasons to quit, 100 rationalizations for mediocrity. And most people take the bait. But you're not most people. You weren't built to settle. You weren't designed for average. You got potential screaming inside you, but potential is worthless if it isn't weaponized. You don't rise by dreaming. You rise by enduring. You rise by waking up with a fire that says, I refuse to be like the rest. When your body says stop, your mind needs to say go. When your emotions scream for rest, your character must scream louder for results. Because greatness doesn't come when it's convenient. It comes when it's brutal, when it hurts, when it's lonely. That's when you're being shaped. That's when you're being tested. And how you respond in those moments determines everything. So stop chasing comfort. Chase the uncomfortable. Chase the hard. Chase the path that scares you, that breaks you, that forces you to evolve. Because in that chaos is your true power. In that pain is your next level. You'll never find out how strong you are until you push yourself past your imagined limits. And once you taste what's on the other side of comfort, the clarity, the confidence, the dominance, you'll never want to go back. This is your wake-up call. Burn the blanket of comfort. Light a fire so intense inside you that no weakness can survive. The world isn't going to hand you your dream. You have to rip it from the jaws of difficulty. You have to earn it through discipline, through pain, through sacrifice. That's the only language success understands.